Hello friends, welcome to KGS IAS English YouTube channel and I am Shubham Sharma, your economy faculty. Friends, today we will discuss chapter number 12, Employment and Skill Development, Getting Skilling Right. Now, why this chapter is important? The reason is whenever we talk about the economic growth, when we talk about inclusive growth, when we talk about even economic development, the first thing that matter is whether the fruits of the success of economic growth or development will be channelized to the youth of the country or will it will lead to enhancement of employment. The reason is employment boost, if there is a boost in employment, it will lead to virtuous cycle of the economy. How? Because if the employment increase, it increases the income. When income increases, it increases the saving. Saving led to increase in investment, led to capital formation and enhancement of GDP. Now, the important thing in this employment perspective is that what type of employment is actually increasing, whether formal employment is increasing or informal employment is increasing. So the more the formal employment is increasing, it led to the better regulation in the system, because formal employment is regulated by someone, any agency, any government department, private organization, and it also led to increase in the overall calculation about the amount of money, the benefits and all these things. So when we talk about the introduction of this chapter, it talk about that India's workforce consists of more than 56 crore people. Now this is very huge data. 56 crore people are in our workforce, possess enormous economic potential. And we always say this thing, we proudly say this thing, that the demographic dividend of India is very strong. Now, the chapter explains that India's labor market is currently undergoing deep structural transformation. This is again very important. If you talk about the time period before 2015 or 14, we can say that the employment is still driven by those traditional things which are more labor intensive, which require more of, which talk about more about quantity of people. But nowadays, especially after COVID, if we say, digitalization create a huge impact. And with the change in AI technology, with the implementation of AI technology, there is a complete turnaround in employment scenarios. Now, what actually matters is quality of work. So, digitalization, AI, platform economy, green economy transition, changing nature of work, gig and free employment, automation, remote and hybrid work system, they all are the transforming factors which completely change the employment scenarios in the whole world. Not only in India, but for the whole world. Now, the overall focus, the whole world is now currently focused on quality of work, what kind of work you are actually doing, sustainability of livelihood, that means you able to sustain with that work and it will support your livelihood. It talk about inclusiveness, that means including all of the segments. Then workers protection, protecting their rights, and enhancement of productivity. So all these factors actually changed. All these factors are important with the change in these factors. So as I mentioned before, that the quantity of work is not now important. Important is how the quality of work is important. So that's why this is the introduction. Now, even the sustainable development goal number 8 talk about decent working condition. So it talk about, the chapter repeatedly emphasize that employment generation alone is insufficient if job remain low paying, informal, insecure and unproductive. That's why SDG 8 talk about decent work condition. Friends, if a particular person is employed but the it is an underemployment, or it's an informal employment, or he is very he the position on which he is very volatile in nature, that means fluctuating in nature, or is not that secure, and even if it is not if it is not that much productive, then actually it is almost equivalent to being an unemployed. So the concept of decent work linked with sustainable development goal, which includes that there must be fair wages according to the work, then productive employment, that there must be some novice thing, that means he feel energized, that there is always a new learning in his work, there's always a new kind of understanding of procedures. So that is productive employment. Then workplace dignity, This is extremely important. If a person is working, even if he is working on a less pay and wages, but if there is a proper integrity and dignity is maintained, it will give him more satisfaction. So there are, apart from monetary benefits, there are non-monetary benefits is also there in workplaces. Then social security, extremely important again, because many of the people, especially if I am talking about in India, social security matter a lot in employment. Then safety, and last, opportunity for advancement, that there must be a continuous cycle of growth, promotions, increase in pays, as well as new learning opportunities. So that's what decent work actually mean. Then employment policy is now viewed not only as a labor policy but also as a human development policy. That means human development, social justice, and productivity, they completely make a triangle. That means human development, social justice, and productivity completely, they actually form a new labor thoughts. So the survey further explained that employment outcomes are deeply interconnected with the current employment outcomes are actually related with or interconnected with what kind of education you are getting. That's why the NEP 2020 talk about this education quality. Then healthcare, as I mentioned, healthy mind dwells in a healthy body, so that's healthcare is again important. Industrialization, the more the industrialization, the scope of employment enhances, and that too of new sectors like green energy sector or AI, robotics, and all these things. Infrastructure, because it decides the development status of an economy. Apart from the per capita income or the wealth, infrastructure is the backbone for any developed nation. Ease of doing business, because if it is complex business mechanism, it will lead to more difficulties. So the more the ease of doing business, the better the way economy can sustain. Urbanization and technology adoption, because technology is a adopting new technology is a necessity. So India's demographic dividend, if we talk about, India currently possesses one of the youngest population in the world according to the survey. India's working age population is 15 to 59 is expected to exceed 98 crore over the next decade. That means in next 10 years our working age population exceeds to 98 cr. Around 65% of the population will remain within the working age category around 2030. That means 65% of India's population remain in that working age group of 15 to 59. So this demographic structure create extraordinary economic potential, because a larger working age population led to, if there is more working age population, it has very positive effects as well. It led to more labor supply. It led to high saving. As I mentioned, it is like virtuous cycle. It led to rising investment, expand consumption, and greater productive capacity. Now, however, the chapter strongly warned that demographic dividend is not automatic. As I already mentioned in the previous chapters also, we should be proud that we have a great demographic dividend, but it's always being important that you should remain on your toes. That means you believe in practicality. A large young population can become economic strength or economic burden depending on whether the economy can provide. So if the economy of any country is providing good education, latest skills, better healthcare, productive jobs, and social mobility, then in that case, that will lead to more of enhancing economic strength and reduce economic burden. So if these conditions are absent, demographic advantage may instead generate. Again, as I mentioned, that demographic dividend can always be better if there is working force in these positive things. But if these positive things are not there, it will lead to unemployment, social frustration, informality, low productivity, and inequality also. So demographic dividend actually depend on the betterment of these five factors. And if these five factors are not getting developed, then in that case, the problem will arose in this manner. It led to unemployment, it led to social frustration, informality, low productivity, and inequality. Now, there is a specific term that is very important. What is longevity dividend? Now, it can be asked in prelims. Like, what is longevity dividend? So, longer life expectancy can become economically beneficial if elderly population remain. So, longevity dividend means elderly population, if they are healthy, financially secure, skilled, and economically active, they will contribute a lot in economic development and growth. So, however, achieving longevity in dividend, it require what it require? Preventive healthcare. That means healthcare should be better. Lifelong learning. They should keep on learning new things, and it's always been said by someone that if you have a tendency to learn more, it will keep you young. Okay, lifelong learning. Then pension system, it will give us a social security net. It also led to elderly care infrastructure, better health cares, and what we can say, the silver economy will get more benefit, play a major role here. Then flexible working system, that means according to your comfort, according to your health, that is how much your health is allowing, do that kind of work. And last, management of chronic diseases. So longevity dividend actually depending on these things. Now, a structural transformation of India's labor market. This is very important. And a mains question can be asked from this. What is the structural transformation of India's labor market? The first major force is digitalization. Because of digitalization, digital technologies are transforming hiring system, payment system, work organization, skill requirement, and business model. So all these digital technologies that we are seeing in our nearby, it led to better hiring, better payment system, also led to work organization, it led to better skill requirements and business model. So rise of digital platform create online work, remote employment, freelancing, app based work, which reduce dependency on traditional office based employment structure. Now, however, digitalization also creates some risk. Now, this is very important. And we all accept this fact that these risks are inevitable. That means either we can upgrade ourselves, upskilling we can do, otherwise, or we can do reskilling. Otherwise, people can fall into this. So automation of repetitive job, skill obsolescence, if they are not upgrading or reskilling yourself, it led to skill obsolescence. Digital exclusion, if you are not digitally aware, or if you don't have that better digital infrastructure, then also it create the problem. That's what unequal technological access. So the chapter repeatedly stressed the importance of continuous reskilling and lifelong learning. Moving ahead, the second structural force is the green energy transition. There are actually four structural transformation. First one is this digitalization. Second one is the green energy transition. India specifically working a lot on this green energy factor, because net zero carbon emission target by 2070. Then we are also we also following a lot on Paris climate conference targets. We also become a partner along with France and International Solar Alliance. All these things. So the movement towards renewable energy through solar mission, national solar mission, EV, FAME scheme, battery ecosystem, green hydrogen, it will entirely create new labor market. At the same time, some traditional industries may experience employment disruption. So workforce transition management become critical. So once on one side, you need the people that they should equip with better skills, especially in these sector. And on the other thing, if you don't have that kind of available labor, then in that case it also create problem in traditional industry. So the balance need to be kept in structural transformation. Third is rising of gig and platform economy. The gig workers, the freelancers. The survey discussed the expansion of food delivery platform, ride sharing service, freelancing system, digital service work. These create labor market flexibility but weaken traditional employer worker relationship. As we all are aware of this thing, ओला उबर के जो कैब ड्राइवर्स होते हैं, वो कई बार अपनी कंडीशन, अपनी परिस्थिति के हिसाब से भी they'll run. Then all these actually change this employer-employee traditional setup. So this create policy concern regarding worker protection, because if more you are working in the freelancing part, the positives are there. You will get ample of different kind of work. You will work according to your needs. You can earn more money according to if you work more, but it also create a lot of negatives as well. That means if worker protection is comparatively less, income stability factor may impact. Then insurance facility is also not that much. Social security problem and legal classification of workers. So if anything has a positive impact, it also some have it also may have some negative impacts also. So the fourth structural force is formalization. Now this is very important, and I personally feel that it's always better that economy should have more of formal employment, because if there is formal employment, it must be regulated by someone. So written contract, pension benefit, health care access, social security and workplace protection all are the part of this formalization system. So the survey strongly argued that formalization will improve. What it led to? अच्छा formalization होगा तो क्या होगा? It led to worker security, increased productivity, promote financial inclusion, also led to economic efficiency. Government targeting will become better. So formalization led to economic reform and welfare reform both. Now, overview of India's labor market performance. Now let's check out what is the overview of all our overall India's labor market performance. First of all, according to periodic labor force data, labor force participation rate improved. That means the active engagement of the people in the labor force improved. That's a good thing. Unemployment rate declined and employment level increase with steady rate. The chapter says that around 56.2 crore people were employed during quarter 2 of financial year 2026. Additionally, around 8.7 lakh new jobs were created between quarter 1 and quarter 2 of FY 2026. That means financial year 25-26. So the chapter interpret that this is an evidence that India's economic growth has translated into labor market expansion. Now, a very important thing. The chapter repeatedly cautioned that headline employment numbers alone are insufficient because they do not fully capture. Once we are saying that the employment of India is increasing, we are saying that कि हमारा LFPR improve हुआ है, we are saying unemployment decline हुआ है, but is the type of employment actually matter or not? Suppose I am saying that the unemployment rate in India is falling. I am saying that periodic labor force is improving, but more people are engaged in informal employment, then again the benefits will not turn out to be the more better way. They are just a superficial growth. So employment quality matter, informality, wage condition and productivity level. So deeper structural analysis become necessary. So if we are continuously saying this thing, our employment number increased, LFPR improved, but if it led to more of informal employment, it is actually of no use. Okay, so overview of India's labor market performance. Now, if you see, this is the sectoral distribution of employment. Sectoral distribution of employment regarding to males quarter 1 FY26, female and person in total. So if we say the chart reveals that agriculture still employ a disproportionately large share of India's workforce. We will not say this thing that it's a bad thing, but because sometimes in the extreme what we can say pandemic like of situation, or when a disaster like situation, agriculture is ultimately absorber. So it's not a bad thing if you are saying that the people are employed in agriculture, but there must be a balance, guys. That means more people should be engaged in manufacturing service, as well as even if you are talking about the agricultural engagement of the people, that should promote more of commercial agriculture, and that should be focusing on extensive agriculture a lot. So the chapter reveals that agriculture still employ a disproportionately large share of India's workforce. This is significant because agriculture contribute a much small share to GDP. Now this is the fact. The share of agriculture in GDP is small, but the number of people employed in agriculture is more, which simply shows that disguised unemployment is more here. So, however, India experienced relatively rapid service sector expansion without sufficiently large manufacturing absorption. Now, this is the concern also. Service sector में employment बढ़ रहा है, that's a good thing. But if manufacturing sector is not able to absorb a lot of employment, then it's also a concerning factor. So this one of the chapter's deepest structural concern, because manufacturing historically absorb semi-skilled labor, migrant worker, female labor, and large-scale workforce transition. The chart also reveals strong gender differences. Now this can be important in socio part. Women remain disproportionately concentrated in agriculture and informal work, while participation in manufacturing remain relatively limited. So the women's engagement is more in the primary sector a lot, or in informal employment, but their engagement in secondary sector or tertiary sector is very less. So, employment status of worker. The most important finding is self-employment dominate India's labor market. Now, I'm always saying in my class that it's good that if you are self-employed, because if you are self-employed, you will give more employment to others. But friends, self-employment will always be beneficial in one circumstance only, that the returns that you are getting from that self-employment should have a multiplier effect. दैट मीन्स आप जो सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट कर रहे हो एक तो उसका मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट बड़ा होना चाहिए ताकि वो और लोगों को भी आगे जाके एम्प्लॉयमेंट दे. अगर वो सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट सिर्फ सस्टेनेंस लेवल पर है देन इट इज अ कंसर्न. So the survey carefully explained the self-employment has dual meaning. This is what I'm talking about. On one hand, it reflects entrepreneurship and flexibility. On other hand, it may indicate lack of formal wage opportunity. Now, this is again, that's what I'm saying. If suppose a person is self-employed, the reason being why he is self-employed because he doesn't have that much of formal wage opportunities, and whatever the self-employment he is having, he is just earning to sustain himself or max to max his family. That is not the need. The need of self-employment is, apart from sustaining yourself, you should contribute in the society by engaging more people in your self-employment. So many workers engaged in survival level self-employment, informal enterprise work, family labor. Hence, self-employment data must be interpreted cautiously. This is the concern. This is the thing. So women heavily concentrated in household enterprises, informal labor, and family-based work. So maximum women that are heavily concentrated, they are in household enterprise or informal labor or family-based work. Now, time use survey. This is very interesting as well as it is an eye opener actually. So what is time use survey? Traditional labor stats generally measure only paid economic activity. You are aware of this fact, I think, that activities are of two types. One is economic, another is non-economic. Economic activities are included in GDP. They are basically income generated, and it is whatever the money you are earning or profit you are earning, it's an economic activity. Non-economic activity is basically caregiving, more emotional satisfaction, love, affection, and it is not counted in GDP. Now, large amount of work performed inside households, especially by women, remain economically unrecognized because it's an non-economic activity not counted in GDP, even though it contributes significantly to social and economic functioning. I'll explain you how. Suppose my mother is not actively engaged in any organization. She is just taking care of me, my father, and all of our family members. Because of her care, we are getting breakfast, lunch, dinner on time. We'll get the additional nutrients things on time. We'll get more comfortable life. Now, if we are getting this more comfortable life, we devolve maximum of our time into socio-economic activities as well as in the economic perspective, which will improve my personality as well as it will lead to more income generating things for me. So who is the back force behind me? The back force behind me is my mother. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. This time use survey is talking about that why shouldn't we recognize this fact that those people who are actually contributing in the economic activity, they get a back support from those who are not being counted in economic activity. So the time use survey measures how individual allocate time across various activity: paid employment, domestic work, caregiving, learning, leisure, social participation. The survey highlighted women spend vastly more time than men on unpaid domestic and caregiving work. Women spend around 363 minutes daily on unpaid domestic services. 363 minutes means almost around 6 hours, or more than 6 hours, whereas men spend only 123 minutes. That means women are spending 6 hours on those activities which are unpaid, whereas men spend only 2 hours on those activities which are unpaid. That means it's an average. So this difference reveal a massive gender imbalance in household responsibility. Now, time use survey 2024, the survey argues that this unpaid care burden directly affect what is actually affecting it. So if a woman is engaged more in unpaid activities, obviously she get a less time, because if she is spending 6 hours in this, she also need 8 hours sleep. Apart from that, 1 or 2 hours in her basic things. So she get less time for what things on in female labor force participation. That means career progression, wage opportunity, workforce continuity, then occupational choice. So many women prefer flexible work, self-employment, and home-based work. I'll tell you the difference why this is so important to discuss. If a woman spent 1/3 of her time in unpaid services, that means 1/3 hours is going in those unpaid services. 8 hours she need to for herself was to sleep, 1 or 2 hours for basic necessities of life. So 10 plus 8 is 18. That means she is having 6 hours to give it to other things. Now in that 6 hours, there are some other things also, that suppose some during sometimes she's not feeling well, or some guests are there in family, or some other things, festival and all these things. So she's getting more and 4 to 5 hours in a day for other activities. Now if she's getting only 4 to 5 hours for other activities, she prefer to do those work which give her a kind of leverage, that she should get flexible working conditions, self employment, and home based work. Now in India, the employer want employees to engage fully in the employment process. If suppose I am an employer, I want that my employee should work at least 8 to 9 hours, so that I should she or he should justify the salary. Now if she's working for, if she's available only for 4 to 5 hours to work, and that too for with this things, the employer preferred not to give work to her and give it to someone else. As a result of this, it will lead to reduction in LFPR, female labor force participation. So because of rigid formal employment system, it is difficult to combine with caregiving responsibility. So the chapter introduces a very important policy insight, that is care infrastructure is labor market essentiality. So care infrastructure need to be promoted, so that the females should also contribute in the labor force participation, and the more the better the care infrastructure, like crèche, or like elderly services, or like household work things, it will lead to more females participation in LFPR. Now, female labor force participation, the survey argued that increasing women's participation in the workforce is not merely a gender issue, but a growth issue. It's not only the gender divide, it's about the economic growth perspective, productivity issues, social justice issue, demographic issue. So India cannot achieve Viksit Bharat unless women participate more in economic activity. So the chapter noted female labor force participation has improved. However, the nature of female employment remain highly uneven. This is again what I'm saying. Don't go only with the numbers, that female LFPR improved, unemployment rate falls, worker population ratio improved. I'm not saying this thing. Important thing is that what type of employment actually people are getting. If they are getting more of underemployment, or if they are more engaged in disguised unemployment, that is the major concern. So women frequently face safety concerns, transport barrier, long commuting distance. This actually reduces their participation in urban labor market. Now, women in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and high productivity sector. These sectors are critical because we want that more women should be engaged in this STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So these sectors are critical because they led to high productivity occupation, future oriented industries focus a lot on that, and innovative driven growth. So women continue to face barrier like social stereotype, limited mentorship, workplace discrimination, unequal career advancement opportunities. So future economies will increasingly depend on digital technology, artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, data system, and that to get a back support from the system only. That's why. So thus excluding women from these sector reduce national productivity capacity. Now self-help group also are very important because they will give a entrepreneurship opportunity to the female. But now self-help groups are also struggling because of credit, lack of funds availability, financial inclusion is lack, entrepreneurship opportunity is lacking, collective bargaining power will lead to more of helping in SHG. So survey note that SHG help women transition from financial dependency toward economic agency. Through micro enterprises and community-based productive systems, self-help group will support what? They will support rural livelihood. It also promote local entrepreneurship and led to women-led development. So the chapter repeatedly used the phrase women-led development rather than women-centric development. This is very important. This can be asked in mains. What is women-led development? How it is different from women-centric development? So it shifts women from passive beneficiary to active economic agents. Now let's talk about eShram portal. Very important again. India possesses one of the world's largest informal workforce. Informal workers often lack. Now, what is this eShram portal? It's a national database where the informal workers get registered. So the more the informal workers, it will create the problem of social security, pension system, insurance, and formal identification. So what is actually in eShram portal is providing? It provide a national database of unorganized workers where worker registration include construction laborers, gig workers, migrant workers, domestic workers, and agricultural laborers. So all of them are there in this eShram portal. So eShram portal is providing a benefit to those unorganized workers who engaged in these things, like gig workers, construction laborers, migrant laborers, type of gig workers actually. Then National Career Service Portal, its attempt to match job seeker with employers. That means those who want the job and those who will provide those kind of job, it is kind of match match platform. So it improve labor market information, reduce search cost, and enhance employment accessibility. This is important because labor market often suffer from information asymmetry, skill mismatch, and fragmented hiring system. Simple hai. Let's suppose a particular person, he's seeking job, okay, and he is having that kind of working experience or degree, and the person who want that fellow, he get this through this NCS portal. So it will lead to digital label platform can improve employment matching, skill signaling, and geographic mobility. Then manufacturing employment, this is important friends. Manufacturing play an important role because it absorb semi-skilled labor, it increasing the productivity. And manufacturing sector, obviously India want that this manufacturing sector's contribution in overall GDP should be between 25 to 30% at least to become a developed nation by 2047. So manufacturing sector will increase the overall productivity, it expand the export, it support the urbanization, and create large scale job. So India experienced relatively rapid service sector expansion without sufficiently large manufacturing employment growth. So the chapter repeatedly argued that manufacturing expansion is essential for manufacturing expansion. किस चीज के लिए essential है? It led to productive job creation, rural labor transition, female employment, and export competitiveness. So ये chapter कह रहा है manufacturing expansion बहुत important है. Why? It led to productive job creation, rural labor transition. It also improved female employment and improve export competitiveness. So labor productivity and industrial competitiveness. The more productive the labor is, it led to industrial competitiveness. It led to more competitive exports product also. So high productivity allow better wages, greater competitiveness. It also increase the investment and export expansion. So it obviously, the better the productive labor you have, it will create better wages, it will create more competitiveness, it increase the investment and export expansion. And this productivity is actually depending on skill, technology adoption, infrastructure. The management quality is again very important because the better the management quality, they will focus more on skills and capital intensity. So the survey argued that skilling must therefore be linked with, how this skill should be linked with? They should be linked with industrial strategy, upgrading of technology, and sectoral development. Now, the 4 labor codes, very, very important, and even a question can had asked been in mains also. Why these 4 labor codes are very important? Before these 4 labor codes, there are many labor laws are there. Now those different labor laws having different interpretation of things, definition of worker, definition of employer, what is the meaning of wages, disputes, jurisdiction. All these things are very what I can say, very segregated form are there. They are in very segregated form. With the implementation of 4 labor codes, things become more streamlined. So they are the 4 labor codes: code on wages, industrial relation code, occupational safety, health and working condition code, and code on social security. So the chapter explains this simplification improve. If these four labor codes actually simplify, it led to easing of compliance, have better transparency, it led to administrative efficiency and formalization of incentives. Now, the first code is code on wages. Code on wages aim to simplify and standardize wage related regulation. So earlier different wage law apply to different category of worker, creating confusion. डिफरेंट कैटेगरी ऑफ वर्कर्स के लिए ऊपर डिफरेंट वेजेस का डेफिनेशन का बहुत सारी चीजें होती थी. सो नाउ विद दिस वेज लॉस, विद दिस कोड ऑन वेजेस, इट सिंप्लीफाई एंड स्टैंडर्डाइज वेज रिलेटेड रेगुलेशन. So the new framework attempt to ensure timely payment of wages. Wages should be paid timely basis. Minimum wage protection that help them to sustain. Equal remuneration to those who are working in that segment. That means if there are 10 people working in a same segment with same experience level, they will get the equal remuneration and broader wage worker coverage. So one important conceptual shift in attempt to universalize wage protection beyond only organized sector workers. So chapter also indirectly link wage formalization. The more the wage formalization, simple सी बात है, if the wage formalization is there, you are getting the wages on timely basis, you are getting the apart from that you are getting equal remuneration, people will also felt aware that now we are getting good amount of money, we should move towards the formal sector more. So it enhances the financial inclusion, developing the banking habit among the people. Digital payment improve. That means they need not to carry so much of physical money with themselves. It led to better taxation system also because everything is now recorded. And then social protection portability because it is directly linked to the bank account. Then industrial relation code. IR industrial relation code address industrial dispute. There are many laws earlier for industrial dispute. That creates a lot of confusion. So trade unions, retrenchment rule, hiring flexibility. The survey argued that India's industrial sector require greater labor flexibility in order to compete globally. So India labor flexibility create concerns regarding job security, workers' bargaining power, and income stability. Now, with stable industrial relation, the more stable industrial relation you have, it will actually lead to more investment confidence. It will also improve the productivity. It led to production continuity also, and hence labor harmony become an economic asset. Obviously, the more the synchronization and better coordination among the employer and employee, if the things are transparent, things are clear, it will enhance the confidence. It will also create the better trust on each other, resolve trust issues. It improve the productivity. Worker feel motivated that okay, this is my workplace, I have to give my best because I will be rewarded for it, both monetary or non-monetary terms. All this led to industrial relation improvement. Then occupational safety, health and working condition, very important again. If someone is working at least, what I can say, 1/3 of his whole day with someone else, he should be take care of the safety and security of that person, because it is not only the worker who is working at the employer's place, it is his whole family depend on that worker. So labor code focus on workplace safety, worker health, working condition. Chapter argued that better workplace will lead to improve the efficiency, workforce stability and human capital quality. बहुत सिंपल सी बात हम सब जानते हैं, why we need a kind of working environment that should be positive, not to be toxic. Because if the more the better workplace, the more the facilities, safety concerns are taken care of. People felt this thing. अब खुद सोचो ना यार, 24 hours में if you are giving 1/3 of your day into an organization, 1/3 day is for your basic things, 1/3 day or more than that you are giving for an organization, then you must know that I am daily coming to this place, I am giving 8 to 9 hours to this place, I expect that there must be proper safety condition, health condition for me. So this is especially important in construction, mining, manufacturing, logistic, where risks are more. Then code on social security. At the end, why a person works a lot, why he is working that he should be able to sustain himself and his family, and lastly that to protect his future and as well as the future of his family. So India's labor market is dominated by informal workers, self-employed worker, gig worker, platform worker. The new framework attempt to expand social security coverage to broader categories of workers. That means not only for formal, but they want to expand the social security coverage to the plethora of workers. So social protection system must evolve beyond factory era labor structure. Survey strongly argues that social security portability is essential in modern labor market. Now, gig economy and platform workers, we had discussed a lot. Even I had discussed these things in many times in my class also. Gig workers are of two type. One is platform workers, those who are with online setup, Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato. These all are the platform. Non-platform, the street vendors that we see on a day-to-day basis, on daily basis. The survey explained that digital platform create new employment opportunity. Ride sharing service, food delivery platform, e-commerce, online freelancing, digital service marketplace. It increases labor flexibility and lower entry barrier. So it create a gray area between self-employment and wage employment. Obviously, we need to take care of this thing that these freelancer gig workers also get good insurance protection, social protection, legal clarity, platform accountability is necessary for them as well. Then Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, one of the most important scheme for employment and skill improvement. So the program aimed to provide industry relevant skill, improve employability, certify skill, strengthening vocational training. So the chapter says that skill program increasingly focus on practical learning, industry exposure and sector specific capability. Survey also says this thing, this is very important, recognition of prior learning. That means you should get those learning which is which improve your employability. That means suppose if a person is getting a skill which is more demanded by employer, then he is having good bargaining power, labor mobility factor and employability factor. But if someone is getting those skills which are obsolete, then in that case obviously the layoff will be more, the bargaining power is low. That's why Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana focus on recognition of prior learning. Then AI, automation and future of work. Obviously, this is what I can say, almost the talk of the town, maximum time that AI will come, that will take the jobs. Friends, AI is created by humans. Okay, AI is to assist humans. So AI will transform, obviously it will transform manufacturing, service, logistic, finance, retail, knowledge work, everything. But whose job is more in danger situation? Those who are doing the routinal, repetitive kind of jobs. AI will not replace, but it will create more opportunities for analytical thinkers, problem solving thinkers, digital capable thinkers, and human centric service. So, future workers may need continuous reskilling throughout their career. Then green job, it promotes the circular economy, reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, regenerate. So the chapter discusses the rise of green jobs with renewable energy, EV manufacturing, circular economy, waste management. So India's energy transition will reshape labor demand. New sector required green skill, technical capability, engineering expertise, and environmental management practices. So if we conclude this chapter, employment generation alone is insufficient until and unless the jobs should be more formal, more productive. If the jobs are informal, low productive, insecure, it is almost equivalent to unemployment. So similarly, education alone is insufficient if it fails to create employment capability. Human capital is a true foundation of economic competitiveness. So India's labor market transition should focus on quality employment, formalization, worker welfare, female participation, adapting new technologies, lifelong learning, and social security portability. And Indian demographic dividend can become a historic economic advantage only if people are more skilled. Labor market should remain flexible. Growth should focus on increasing the employment, and human capability should be very much important. So let's discuss some of the questions. First, match the following. eShram portal. Create a national database of unorganized worker. True. National Career Service Portal provide universal pension coverage. No, it's not pension. It is establishing relationship between employer and employee, to those who want the job and to those who want to give the job. PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana, improve industrial relevant skill. 1 and 3 are correct. Only 2 pair are correctly matched. B is the correct answer. B is the correct answer. Consider the following statement regarding India's labor market structure. Self-employment in India always reflect high entrepreneurship capability and productivity. Self-employment in India always reflect high. No, it's always is wrong here. Self-employment in India is more because of lack of formal opportunities, and self-employment in India is driven mainly for subsistence of themselves. So first statement is wrong. Second, agriculture continued to act as employment shock absorber during economic distress. That's correct, especially in COVID-19 we had seen this. The movement of labor from low productivity agricultural activity to higher productivity manufacturing sector in India has been relatively slow. This is also true. So 2 and 3 are correct. A, 2 and 3 are incorrect. They had asked. They had asked incorrect. So 1 only is the correct statement. They had asked about incorrect. So C1 only is the incorrect one. Now, next question. Consider the following statement regarding female labor force participation rate in India. Rising educational attainment among women does not necessarily translate into proportionately high labor force participation. This is true. Even if the educational attainment in females are more, still it will not guarantee that they should have a high labor force participation because of many things like stereotype thinking. Apart from that, orthodox mentality. Apart from that, women's also need to give lot of time into their families. So it is not necessary that even a women that is educationally having good education may obviously have high LFPR rate. It is important, it is there, but it is not necessarily led to. So factors such as unpaid caregiving responsibility, mobility constraint, workplace rigidity significantly influence women participation. This is true. A large share of rural female employment in India is concentrated in informal and low productive activity. This is true. So all three of them are correct. 2 and 3 explain once. So A is the right answer. Consider the following statement regarding AI and future of work. AI may disrupt certain repetitive routine jobs. True. Future labor market are expected to increasingly reward adaptability, creativity, and higher order cognitive skill. True. Lifelong learning and periodic reskilling are becoming increasingly important. This is true. So all three of them are correct. D 1, 2, 3 are right here. So friends, this is in today's chapter. I hope you got a clear insight of chapter number 12. If you really like this video, please mention in the comment, as well as do share and subscribe to our KGS IAS English YouTube channel. That's it. Now we will discuss chapter number 13 in the next session. Take care.